Hey guys, and welcome to my new movie review for Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. It came out in 1977, it's rated PG, and the duration is 2 hours and 1 minute. It is an action, adventure, fantasy, sci-fi movie. Once again, it's written and directed by the same director as the first three movies, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, George Lucas. The cast of this movie is the brilliant and magnificent Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford as the brilliant and famous Han Solo, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, Alec Guinness as Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi, Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. Also reprising his role as C-3PO is Anthony Daniels. Also reprising his role as R2-D2 is Kenny Baker. Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca, and embodying but not voicing the role as Darth Vader, David Prowse. So, in case you didn't know, you're about to know, this is actually the fourth installment of the Star Wars saga, A New Hope, right? So obviously the first three I've already done my movie reviews on, and if you want to go check them out, they're on my channel, you're welcome. So this is the fourth installment, but I know it's the fourth installment of this saga completed, but it's actually the first movie that was ever made of the Star Wars movies. And when it was made, it didn't even have a title or an episode number. It was purely called Star Wars. So there's an interesting fact for you straight off the cuff. Opening this movie straight away, guys, something that I really miss, and just purely because Disney own the entire franchise now, it really made me go, was the 20th Century Fox, dun 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 dun, the opening of 20th Century Fox, because of the fact that Disney now own Fox. It's just Lucasfilms, which is unfortunate, and they don't even have the Disney title on it, which I think is a little bit weird, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so I don't normally talk about negative things about Star Wars, but I need to do this straight off the bat and get it over and done with, just so I get it over and done with, okay? One of the annoying things about this movie that I really didn't like, and I saw it straight away, and it was a continuity error in my opinion. They verbally kind of address it, but I still don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. When Obi-Wan Kenobi first meets R2-D2 in this film, he doesn't know who he is. And that really frustrated me, because I was like, you just spent the first three movies interacting and talking to him via, you know what I mean? That for me was like, and rewatching this movie, I didn't even realize that was the case. And I was like, that's annoying. That's just a continuity error. And then he says later, he says that you used to own this. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is like, I don't remember owning a droid. Maybe, yeah, he technically didn't own it, but you've been working with this droid for the last three movies, and these movies are almost over two hours long. Do you know what I mean? I know it's nitpicking. I get it. But I really feel like it was a continuity error. And I was like, Anyway, so if you never knew that Star Wars Rogue One, a Star Wars story was made, okay, take that movie out, okay? And if you've never seen that movie, then Star Wars Attack of the Clones and Star Wars A New Hope, those movies wouldn't make sense without Rogue One at all. In fact, I'm so glad that they made Rogue One a Star Wars story, because it bridges the gap between the two movies, and it still doesn't really explain the robots. Anyway, that movie is is just, if you're watching these movies, I really, really applaud you. And one day I'll do a movie review for Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. But I just want to do I'm just doing the review for the main movies, especially A New Hope. Man, this movie is amazing. So, the continuity, specifically to do with the timeline of all the movies, is imperative to watch Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, for the entire line of the movies to make sense completely. So if you haven't yet, and you've watched the first 3 movies, and you're watching Disney Plus, watch Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and then come and watch Star Wars, A New Hope, Episode 4, technically. So Rogue One, A Star Wars Story isn't number 4, it's just like an added storyline to the rest of the storyline, which I know you're like, wait, what? That messes stuff around, but it makes sense in the long run, trust me. A sign of a movie that is a pure masterpiece is when you have been sitting there for 2 hours and you don't even realize that 2 hours have gone by. That's a sign of an incredibly brilliant masterpiece. That's this movie, guys. Star Wars, A New Hope, technically, aka Star Wars Episode 4. That is what this movie is. I literally sat down, the movie finished, and I looked at my watch and I'm like, whoa, wow. That was something of an absolute brilliant film. Because I didn't even realize I had been sitting there for that long, even though 2 hours isn't really long. But when you get lost in it, completely lost in it, just in its absolute brilliance, it's really when you know that what the director has done and the acting chemistry of the characters and the actors have brought you, and this, just everything, the whole thing is just impeccably executed. The editing of A New Hope is so ridiculously seamless. Seriously. Despite the fact of of the scenery, when they make it look like, you're going to a different time and place in time, and specifically in the universe, this movie is so seamless, guys. This movie is so incredibly edited to perfection. It is unbelievable. To the point where I was watching it, and there's a point, and no spoilers, guys, but there's a point where Luke Skywalker is in this stance, right? He's doing this stance, and he's got a lightsaber in his hand. And it was so fast. It was so fast. I was like, oh, wow, that was cool. And he had to turn the lightsaber off. And obviously to turn the lightsaber off, he had to go get a new lightsaber that was off. It was just a stick, not the whole thing, not illuminated, and have it turned off. And for a brief, minute second, I mean a microsecond, you could tell that his stance had changed. But it was so fast and it was just so well done. It was so well executed that I was like, yeah, that was cool. But the rest of the movie is incredible like that. I can honestly say that the character chemistry in this movie, I honestly would say, is totally flawless. It makes you smile from ear to ear. It is cute, it's funny, it's adorable, it is so well executed. The character chemistry in this movie was so on point that it leaves you at the end of the film wanting so much more, and that's exactly what you want from a movie. It is incredible in that element. One thing about this movie that you absolutely need to remember while rewatching it, this movie was made back in 1977. You need to get your head around that. 1977. No, not 2000s. No, not the 80s. 1977. And it stands the test of time. That is filmmaking in its perfection. When a movie can be rewatched, and does this movie have what all movies in Hollywood need to have, the essential core element of film today, rewatchability. This movie has so much rewatchability, just like the original 3 movies, that I literally have watched it in the last 24 hours twice already, just to be able to really give you my in-depth thoughts and opinion on this movie, because I just wanted to watch it the first time to really take it in, and then rewatch it to take notes on what I wanted to express, because it was that incredible. Once again, talking about the incredibly brilliant, magnificent John Williams, the score for this movie, specifically Luke Skywalker's theme music, is so incredibly memorable. Having a score that is so infectious and that you literally walk away remembering, that's John Williams, guys. That's how good he is at what he does. Making music that is so that you just can't shake, but in a good way. I mean, there's music out there that is so ridiculously, pathetically rubbish that you want to forget as soon as it comes into your head. But Star Wars is completely opposite. It is so good that just rewatching it, you're like, man alive, I never want this to leave my mind. The opening shot of this movie is actually it's actually such a quick sequence, yet it's so incredibly, it just really, really captures the mass of this movie in such a brief moment. It really, really, really just grabs you and you're like, oh my God. Now, anyone who knows what I'm talking about, it's the shootout scene. That sequence, and it just gives you so much suspense. It's not even a long sequence, yet the suspense built up in that element of that part of the movie is so well executed that when the reveal of who comes out is brought to your attention, it's like, oh wow, yeah, here we go, this guy means business. And you have to remember, again, this film came out in 1977, so that's how incredible that sequence is. Once again, in this movie, as all Star Wars movies, the droids are absolutely imperative to the storyline of this film. That is a big, big deal with the Star Wars droids. It really, 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 really is, because they capture what the director and the storyline is going to, the path and journey that everyone is on. That is something in this movie that I valued more than anything rewatching it, is I kept thinking to myself, man alive, these droids are so imperatively, they're just so vital to the storyline of this incredibly brilliant saga. And guys, I'm only 4 movies in, and it's seriously, and in my mind, I'm just boggled by the incredibleness of all these movies. It is just incredible how well they fit in these movies. It's brilliant. It's actually so brilliant that it's kind of funny how insulting C-3PO is. If you rewatch A New Hope, Episode 4, Star Wars, it's funny just going back and just looking at how insulting he is. He's kind of a jerk. Like, he kind of is. And you're like watching it and you're like, what the heck, dude? Like, back the bus up a bit. Like, you're a jerk. Like, not throughout the entire film, but especially to R2-D2. Like, he kind of bullies him around a bit, but it's really funny to watch. I know that's a bad thing, but it works really well. I can honestly say that using the voice of James Earl Jones as Darth Vader in Star Wars was literally one of the most perfected voice elements to a movie in the history of cinema. Literally. I cannot believe, even though he wasn't the body of Darth Vader, still, it is just mind-blowing to re-watch how incredibly menacing his voice was to that embodiment of the person. Incredible. I really don't even understand this, but I couldn't believe how watching a tiny robot literally driving through a dark mound of rocks could be so entertaining. Rewatching this, guys, just watching that happen, I thought to myself, just the way the scene unfolds, it's like, how is this entertaining right now? But it is. It's just so ridiculously cute. I was just like, what am I watching right now? But in the best way possible. Like, it's so simple, yet unbelievably cute. It actually still does my head in to see it, how simple a practical effect is watching this movie. It's just incredible to know the mastership behind this movie and, you know, the incredible CGI. It is mind-blowing to know how simple and practical it was rewatching this, thinking how old this movie is, and yet still how simply put together. I mean, it obviously wasn't simple doing it, but it was so incredibly practical for its time, which it just is, just looking back, it's like, man, cinema has really changed. I mean, really changed. I cannot wait to see Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, purely to see how much CGI has been put into this new film compared to the practical effects of A New Hope. If you didn't know, Star Wars: A New Hope, the original film, is no longer the original film. And what I'm trying to say here, guys, is the Disney Plus edition of A New Hope actually has, not only has it got added extra scenes, it's actually got added digital effects into it. So it's actually, in my personal opinion, what they've done to it is so seamless, but the extra added extras are so much better. I mean, they're just brilliant. And they're just so simple, yet so ridiculously effective to the entire movie. Honestly, it is so well done. One thing about this movie that I kind of found a little bit interesting is I kind of found it a little bit funny that Luke Skywalker wasn't anywhere near as young as they made Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace. In A New Hope, Luke Skywalker is actually a teenager, and between the bridge movie, there's actually, like, no spoilers, but I was surprised at how old, and he's still really young, but he looks a lot older than what I would expected him to be, considering how young they made Anakin Skywalker. It was just, I thought that was a really interesting take, and obviously maybe because it was having an older actor, like a teenager actor, was kind of probably easier to work with, really. Man, I have to tell you, the oil bath scene, oh my gosh, that was gold. Oh my goodness. When you see the movie, if you haven't seen the movie already, because you will after watching this movie review, that bath scene is so fun. When I first saw it, I was like, what does he do? Like, where's he going? Like, I didn't even get the context of it. And then I realized after I saw it, I was like, oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Just seeing, that was funny. That was really classic. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Daniels physically did that, which was just gold. Luke's iconic theme song, I could honestly say, I could literally listen to that one piece of music on repeat, over and over and over, because it really is that good. Seriously. Just re-listening to it, really taking it in, it is just amazing at how iconic it is. Re-listening to it, man alive, I could sit there and just soak up that theme music all day. Something about Star Wars that I find really, really, really fascinating, I really find this fascinating, is how they use ginormously massive creatures for such a short period of time. I was really, really taken back by that in this film in a good way. Like huge mammoth creatures with obviously costumes on so you don't realize that it's actual animal. But it was really fascinating for like literally seconds of screen time. It was phenomenal to see that played out. If you have seen the film, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this, and if you haven't, you're going to be really intrigued by this scene. The hologram scene. I would love to know how they executed that scene back in 1977, because that is incredible to watch. They only use it probably maybe 4 times in the entire film, but just watching it, oh man alive, was that film amazing to watch. Did you actually know that Luke Skywalker was raised in a hole in the sand? Rewatch it, guys. Seriously, rewatch the movie. Look where Luke Skywalker lives with his aunt and uncle. Honestly, I was so surprised at that, and it just comes to show the level of where you come from, like lower than dirt, literally. It was just obviously such an incredible element to his storyline. Good old Lukey. But seriously, Luke Skywalker was raised in dirt. That's random. Those of you who've been following me for any period of time ever knows that I love movie trivia. So guess what time it is, guys? Your favorite time of my YouTube reviews. Trivia time! George Lucas was so sure that this movie would just totally bomb that instead of going to the premiere, he actually went on a trip to Hawaii with Steven Spielberg, where they came up with the idea of The Lost Ark 1981. Get your head around that. He thought that this movie was going to bomb, so he didn't even go to the premiere. What? What? That's incredible. Next piece of trivia, guys. George Lucas' decision to accept a lower salary in exchange for full merchandising rights was actually considered a fool's merchandising gamble on his part. Toys had never been a major earner. Though some toy companies and movie merchants had a bad return, so the long gap would just be like, it just wouldn't be available. And then George Lucas turned around to the company and said, no, let's try this out. I want to see if this works. And it literally became one of the most successful decisions of his entire career, because as you know now, the toys are one of the most brilliant and most they're just such a commodity now. Seriously, almost everyone would have well, if you're a Star Wars fan, which most people are, they are huge. And so, yeah, it was a fool's choice. They're like, no, don't do that. That's a bad idea. And he did it, and it worked. Next piece of trivia, guys. So, according to Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill, when Sir Alec Guinness was actually on set, they would act really, really professionally. But when Sir Alec Guinness wasn't on set, him and Mark Hamill would actually fool around all the time on set. And that's how much they honoured Sir Alec Guinness on set. Man, that's cool. I really respect that. That is really, really... I mean, what a guy. What a bunch of guys. That's a big deal, especially when you're working with actors. That's really honourable of them. Next piece of trivia, guys. The skeleton that C-3PO passes belongs to a Tatooine creature called a greater krayt dragon. This artificial skeleton was left in the Trinity Desert after filming and still lies there. During filming of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, 2002, the site was revisited by the crew once more and the skeleton was still there. That is, I mean, it's a desert, so kind of duh, but that's amazing. Next piece of trivia, guys. The actors found George Lucas to be very uncommunicative towards them, with his only direction generally being faster or more intense. At one point, when he temporarily lost his voice, the crew provided him with boards with just those two phrases written on it. That's a really weird fact, and it kind of made me think to myself, is he really a jerk in real life? But he's a billionaire, so whatever. Next piece of trivia, guys. Harrison Ford didn't even learn his lines for the intercom conversation on the cell block scene so it would sound spontaneous. Oh my gosh. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you haven't seen Star Wars A New Hope, you'll know exactly what I mean, and that scene makes so much sense knowing he didn't learn his lines for that. The last piece of trivia, guys, and I'll leave you with this. In early drafts of the script, R2-D2 could speak standard English, and he had a rather foul vocabulary. Although all of his English speech was removed, many of C-3PO's reaction were left in. That's incredible. Thank you so much for sticking through this incredibly fun A Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope movie review. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications. That way when I drop something, it'll be yours straight away. I appreciate that so much. Don't forget to leave a like, a thumbs up on this movie review. That way I really know that you guys are appreciating and value my content. It really means a lot to me. And until my next movie review, don't forget to leave a comment on this movie review. What did you think about it? Have you seen Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope, aka Star Wars? Leave your comments in the comment section below, guys. I'd love to hear from you. What did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where are you at with the Star Wars movies? I'd love to hear your feedback. Until my next review, don't forget who's bringing this movie review to you guys. This is Superman Steve, guys. Flying